the show.
Welcome to episode 1 of our new podcast, Similar Amplitudes, aka Blaine and Chris Talk About Music, aka Rudder Nonsense, aka...
We haven't decided on a name yet.
Yeah. So basically that's what we're saying. So, but this is going to be an exciting new thing that we're going to be doing here, and this is the first episode of hopefully a few more possibly. And this is my my every episode guest plus co-host, Chris Center over here. I'm Blaine Russell. Most of you know me, especially Fletcher folks who are watching, that I'm the director of music at Fletcher United Methodist Church, and Chris has been working here at Fletcher in various capacities for a few years as well. And so we're going to be mostly using this episode to just sort of get to know Chris. I think there are probably some folks here in the church, either because you maybe haven't been here long, or maybe you usually go to the 8:30 service, and there's some folks that maybe don't know Chris as well, and this will be a good opportunity to get to know him. So I'm going to ask Chris some questions, but we're also probably going to just do a little bit of banter, and we're going to mostly talk about music, but I have a feeling we'll end up taking some tangents, so we'll see how this goes.
Like most of our conversations.
Exactly. So yeah, let's just take a little bit of time to get to know Chris. So Chris, where are you from?
I hail from Greenville, South Carolina. Lived there all of my life. I went to the Blue Ridge Middle School, high school. Yeah.
It seems funny because I don't think about Greenville like being in the Blue Ridge Mountains, so it's kind of funny that like your school was called Blue Ridge High School.
Yep.
I find that to be kind of interesting. Is it because you can see the Blue Ridge Mountains from the school?
Oh yeah.
Is that like why? Yeah. Okay, there we go. That makes sense then. So that, because I've always wondered that. That seems kind of interesting. So yeah. So well, very cool. So when did you start working at Fletcher, and how did you start working at Fletcher?
I had never heard of Fletcher until one day I was running to my next class in the music building, and Janet Kelly stopped me and was like,
we all know and love.
Yeah, she was like, honey, do you have a place where you go every week to church? I was like, well, I sometimes drive down to South Carolina because I grew up going to Fountain Inn First Baptist, and loved it there. Similar atmosphere. And then moved up to North Carolina, and that was a long drive every week.
Yes, that's right.
And just showed up and sang an Easter service, I believe it was.
That's exactly right. And I think it was 2016, pretty sure. Pretty sure it was 2016. So, yeah, we were, just to kind of piggyback on that story, we were looking for to start a choral scholar program at our church, which would basically mean that we would pay a college student to come in and sort of act as a section leader in the choir, but also do some other things. And at the time, we really wanted a bass. And so I asked Jan to sort of put some feelers out at Brevard College, since she was there every week, and she said, oh, I have the perfect person for you. And so, we really needed somebody for our Easter Sunday service. And so during Holy Week, I went up to Brevard College. I met Chris. We had lunch together at Pescado's Burritos, which was delicious as always. Shout out to Pescado's. They're awesome. And then
we're also looking for sponsors.
Yes, that's exactly right. Looking for sponsors. So, and then I said, here's our Easter anthem. Let's learn it real quick, and then you can sing with us on Sunday. And it was not an easy anthem, I will say that. It was quite a challenging anthem. It was Awake Arise by Howard Helvey, which is not an easy piece. And so we taught you that piece real quickly. Yeah. And Chris joined us that Easter in 2016, and been here ever since. And it's been great. I hope it's been great for you too.
Not bad for my primary is a saxophone.
Right.
So like it's
exactly,
singing is like still new, I guess.
Yeah, but you jumped right in like you've been doing it forever, and it's worked great for hopefully for you and for us too. I mean, it's been awesome, and so
sort of.
No. Sort of it's worked for us, or sort of it's worked for you, or sort of both? Yeah, okay, there we go. Close enough. So yeah, well, what are some of your favorite things about being a part of the music ministry here at Fletcher, or just the ministry here at Fletcher really in general?
I think the experimenting, like learning a new piece, and just really delving into more of the minute details of the piece. it's not every day that I get to use what I went to school for. And the company's okay.
Right, right, yeah, and the company's all right too. Yeah, the company's great. No. But yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense because I mean, one of the most rewarding things about music ministry is just trying new things.
Mm-hmm.
Is just and I love that we have a great enough rapport that we can just like sort of bounce ideas off each other and experiment. And I always think that's really fun because it'll be like, oh. Like, for example, we've been working on these Thursday videos for the church, and sometimes Belinda will do a story video, and it'll be like, hey, we can write some original music for that. And, just fun little experimental things like that are definitely one of the best parts. So I totally agree with you on that. I think that's great. And I've always thought that one of the important things, because Christina and I were employed as choral scholars and we were in college, and one of the important things to us was always not just to show up, sing for rehearsal and service, and then leave. We wanted to ingrain ourselves in the ministry of that church in other ways. And I think that's really important. And not everybody sees it that way, but I think that's been one of the nice things too about our relationship here has been that you've ingrained yourself in this church, not just as a person that comes and sings and leaves. I mean, I can tell that you feel a part of this church in a lot of ways, not just in that way. I think that's important. I've known some people over the years that didn't think that was important. And I think it's, important to be a part of a church in more ways than one, instead of just showing up to do your duties that are on paper and then leaving. So I think that's a really good thing. But so, and just, it's also interesting too because, when we originally started the Choral Scholar program, we imagined that we would have people as long as they were in college, and then after that, we would look for a new person. But it worked out so well that you ended up staying around in the area. So could you maybe just like talk for a minute about kind of how your time in college transitioned into what you do now for employment and how that kind of kept you in the area?
Yeah, so I went to Brevard College last minute. So I was going to either go to University of Alabama for my CPA.
Roll Tide, yeah.
Or Brevard College for music.
Yeah.
And just last minute was like, I think I need to do music. Mm-hmm. And was looking to go into high school band directing.
Right.
I was dead set. As I progressed, I was like, maybe college directing might be more my speed, maybe orchestral conducting, maybe even just quitting everything and going to work with coffee down in South America. I explored many different options and ended up liking the education side more so than music. But, I mean, music still is my passion, but the administrative, the getting to know people, that connection is just, it's nothing like it.
Yeah.
And now I work at Brevard College as the area coordinator for campus life. So I handle everything from residence life to tech setups to student leader training, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And love it.
I
complain all the time, but I love it.
There's always going to be little sources of frustration with any work there is, but that doesn't mean that we don't love what we do,
Yeah.
And so so I think that's great, and because of that, it's allowed you to stay in the area, and allowed your position at the church to sort of morph from just being a choral scholar position into almost being like a music internship, and really even just sort of being like an assistantship, where it's a lot more than just showing up Wednesday nights and singing with the choir. It's little extra projects like helping with little composition things and doing arrangements. And if we ever use the saxophones in church, of course, that's always a time to utilize Chris's saxophone skills. We'll do a little, he'll arrange a piece for a trio or a quartet, and then we'll use that. And there's just a lot of, the position has definitely morphed over the years. And so we're glad that you're still here. We love having you here. and kind of on another topic, still music, but not really having to do with stuff here. But what are sort of some of your favorite genres of music? What are some things you enjoy listening to?
My Spotify goes all over the place, whether it's like neoclassicism or romantic or like rock, rap, a little bit of everything. But I think the one genre that's in my heavy rotation is like a bebop jazz or something like that.
Makes total sense. Saxophone, bebop jazz. Yeah, I totally get that. That's great. Any like kind of new artists and things you've been listening to? I know you were mentioning a couple to me earlier, but yeah.
I like a new artist that I recently discovered is Beauty and the Bass. They do some pretty neat things. Along the lines of like Snarky Puppy and a couple of those groups like that.
Yeah, kind of funk influenced.
Oh,
little funk influenced and a little bit of jazz and a little bit of just that kind of sort of poppy funk feel. Yeah, that's nice. So, yeah, my big thing that I've been doing lately is I finally have a working turntable again. And so I've been a big vinyl collector my whole life because my dad is, and so I had like stacks of records that were stacking up that I couldn't listen to because I didn't have a working like system. It would be like the turntable would be working, but then the speakers would not be working, and the speakers would be fine, but then the receiver wouldn't be. It was like I couldn't get the right combination of things. So Christina got me a new antique receiver, and finally got a system working where everything works. Still got some more stuff to do to it, but that's what I've been doing is finally listening to my like stacks of records that I hadn't listened to. So that's been fun. It's been some jazz, some rock, some classical, and so yeah. And you know me, I'm like you. My tastes are all over the place. One minute I'm listening to Bach. Yeah. The next minute, I'm listening to, the Marshall Tucker Band, and then I'm listening to Outkast, and then
sometimes it's back to back.
Sometimes it's back to back.
I'll be driving down the road in my car, and then Brandenburg Concerto we were talking about. That was on the way over, and then it switched to Avett Brothers right after.
Yep. Okay. It is. Yeah, it's the tastes are all over the place, and I think it's important to establish that like people tend to pigeonhole genres of music and say like this is a good genre and that's a bad genre. But when it really comes down to it, good music is just good music.
Yeah, it influences each other.
Right, exactly.
Like, who knows? Like John Legend could have listened to Vivaldi.
Right, and knowing him, he probably does. I mean, that's the thing is that a lot of artists from genres have influences from a lot of other genres, and it's good music is good music no matter what it is. We tend to want to pigeonhole that like this genre's good, this genre's not, but that's what we all tend to do. But I just think it's good stuff's out there, and I don't like that people put down pop music because there's good pop music out there. It's just that people assume that all pop music is just what you hear on the radio, the same 3 songs every day. And like, no, let's not pigeonhole all pop and say all pop is bad. There's great pop out there.
There's definitely ones that are bad.
Oh yes.
We're not going to name any names.
Right, exactly. Just like there's bad music in every genre, and so there definitely are. But it's good music is good music, and it's across all genres. It transcends genre. So I totally am with you on that. And so we're going to be using this show as sort of an opportunity just to talk about a lot of different things. This is more of an introductory episode, like I said, but we'll probably come up with some more more focused topics in the future. And I would like to spend a week talking about public domain music because
oh my goodness,
it's been on my mind a lot because I just emailed Chris the other day and I was like, one of my favorite anthems is now in the public domain, and I'd love to talk about like what that means because that sounds like a small little thing, but there's very specific rules about copyright in public domain, and when music goes into the public domain, it's like the most exciting thing in the world.
Like Happy Birthday is recently released in public
domain, which is why restaurants used to never use Happy Birthday when they would sing Happy Birthday to you. They'd use some silly song they made up themselves, or like Happy Birthday, blah 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 blah, or something like that, because you literally couldn't use it in restaurants. And so it's little things like that you would never imagine. So we're being given the signal by our producer that we need to go ahead and be wrapping up. So thank you so much for joining us for episode 1 of our podcast that we've given like 5 names to. Like I said, Chris and I are going to be coming up with lots of different topics. So this is going to be fun.
Thank you for having me on the most difficult subject to talk about, me.
I mean, I'm glad you got through it though. It was good. So. Well, thank you all so much for listening. Once again, this is episode 1 of this podcast.